Hi, I'm Andrea and welcome to Crafting of Vermilion Lane. Today we're going to be making burlap wreaths, so let's get started. Unroll a few feet of your burlap and then just set it in your corner so that you can easily just pull from your roll. Fold your burlap in half. Take a piece of jute, twine, or a pipe cleaner and secure it to your wire wreath frame. Loop it through and then back again. Flip over to the back of your wire wreath frame and then take your twine and make a loop. Knot it to secure, and now it's time to get started. Once again, as you work, make sure that your burlap ribbon stays folded over. That's going to make for a really pretty edge. I'm going to loop it through one time. And this is where I like to take the time to slip my fingers under here and cover up that beginning piece, like so. Then I go to the middle loop, do the same thing, I pull it through, give it a quick push, fold over my ribbon, and then come in for my third loop. Each time I make a loop, I push over so that it's nice and tight and secure. I'm going to show you what it looks like in the back. It's a hot mess back there. But the front is gorgeous, darling. So then, as I push this aside, I'm going to put this here so you can get a better look. I'm going to keep this folded and go right back to my first loop, the inner loop. Using my other hand to keep everything nice and taut. Flip over and push through. Now I'm not speeding this up because I really want you to get a sense of how long it's going to take you and how awkward it is to get started. When I first started making wreaths, I'd look online, especially at YouTube videos, and I'd find that it seemed like it took these women like literally 1 minute to go around 1/4 of their wreath. And I couldn't figure out how they did it so fast, how they got going. It was so awkward for me. My fingers were all over the place. The jute was all over the place. The burlap was bunchy and crazy looking. And then I figured, you know what? They're having the same problems as I am. They're just zooming through or they're cutting that part out. And I want you to see it. Because every time you start a wreath, no matter how good you get, it's going to be just this awkward getting going. Once you've got 3 of these rows, it's going to be smooth sailing. You'll see. For every 3 rows of 3 loops, I secure my ribbon down. And let me show you what that looks like. I bunch it all together, and then I come to the back. This time I'm going to use a pipe cleaner because it's nice and bright and you'll really be able to see what I'm doing. Now that you see how that's nice and tight, I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and twist away so that my burlap ribbon stays in place. So I start again on the very first row, the inner circle. Make a loop. All the while my ribbon is folded. I make another loop. And again on the outer circle. Once I've got my nice row of 3, I slide it in and I start another row of 3 loops. And as you see, I'm working a lot faster now. And that's because I've gotten that first row of 3 loops completely secured. It makes it so much easier as you go along. You are going to be a pro at this in no time flat. But let's say you don't become a pro, or it's difficult and you hate it. That's okay too, because you can go to vermilionlane.com and purchase one of my wreaths. And it'll be just as pretty, and I won't tell anyone. You can let your neighbors believe that you made it yourself. But if you're feeling generous and they happen to ask, let them know that you got it on vermilionlane.com. A handmade wreath. And I hope, and I bet, that they'd like to do the same. Another complete row of 3. You know it's time to secure again. Flip over your frame. Grab one more piece of your pipe cleaner. And twist. All right, so once you get to the very end of your wire frame, you want to really pull it through, pull your ribbon through nice and taut, because you don't want to have any gaps and spaces. Then of course you're going to cut it. Set that aside for the next project. Flip it over. So I pulled it through and then back. And I'm going to slide my string underneath. Then I'm going to take my string and tie off that last piece of ribbon. Really want to make sure it's nice and secure. Then any little frayed pieces that aren't so pretty, cut those off. Twist down all of my pipe cleaners so they don't get in the way or scratch up my door when I hang it. And there's our wreath. I'm going to go in with my fingers, and each individual loop, I'm going to make sure that it's not too crowded, not too lonely, and that my wreath is nice and full and I don't have any gaps or spaces or frayed places. I'm so excited to be making my first spring wreath of the year. Oh my goodness. The snow in the Midwest is killing me. If you haven't seen my how to make a wreath bow video, I'm going to go through it very quickly for you. If you need a little bit more time and you want more of a step-by-step, then check out that video. You can find it on my Crafting at Vermilion Lane playlist. Okay, so with about a 10-inch hangover here, I've made a loop that extends out just like this. I'm going to hold it together with my thumb, and that is going to be the middle of my ribbon. I'm going to loop the next piece over, just like that. And I'm going to make it roughly the size that I want it to be for each continuing loop around my wreath ribbon. Then I come back underneath, twist, so again I'm at the front of my fabric, and then make a similarly sized loop, similar to the one that I have on the other side. And this is what I have so far. I'm going to keep going, making my loops, roughly all the same size. And I'm not going to stress about the size because I can always adjust it later. And I think I'm going to go for a 6-loop bow on this one. If I can eke out 8 loops, then I'm going to go for it. I have enough on each side, so I'm going to be able to make 8 loops, 4 on either side. So again, remember I had about 9 or 10 inches hanging off here. I'm going to do the same right here. I'm going to take my incredibly bright pipe cleaner, because that's what happens when you send a 10-year-old son to get you a pipe cleaner that will match. He's going to come back with some bright neon color every time. That's fine. It'll work because it won't be seen. And if it is, that's okay too, because it's kind of a fun, punchy sort of spring color anyway. So I'm going to secure that in the back. Hang my tails down like so, slide my thumb through my front loop, and then I'm going to begin the process of spreading out my loops so that they're nice and pretty. The important thing is that you've got a really good twist on your pipe cleaner. Show it to you this way. And you don't want it to flop or droop, no matter where you're hanging it. Don't forget to check out vermilionlane.com for this and many more crafts that you can save as well as print out. Find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Google+. And don't forget to subscribe and like my videos on YouTube. Thanks again for joining me. Bye-bye.